Alderman Tobin.
Here.
Alderman Jean-Francois. Alderman Johnson.
Here.
Alderman Ray.
Here.
Alderman Kleiner.
Here.
Alderman Green.
Here.
Alderman Witt.
Here.
Alderman Massey.
Here.
President Rodriguez.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Approval of minutes.
We have the minutes of March 18th, 2025, please.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Massey.
Second.
Alderman Witt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Correspondence.
We have a 30-day standard application for liquor license from Resto de Palm LLC, 107 Academy Avenue, Middletown, New York.
Forward to the police department. All right. For the good of the city, anyone who'd like to address the council, please step forward. We have anybody signed up?
Mr. Pugh.
Good evening, council.
Yeah.
My name is Susan Depew. Can you hear me?
A little bit down. There you go.
My name is Susan Depew. I live at 57 Prospect Street. As most of you can remember from other years, every spring we get together as a city and we clean up the litter that other people have left. Hopefully this year we'll have less litter to clean up, but I'm inviting each and every person who lives in the city, who visits the city, who's part of the city in any way, students, teachers, parents, anybody who would like to spend a few hours helping us improve our city physically. Middletown has become a very beautifully transformed, desirable community. All you need to do is drive down any one of the streets that has been enhanced by Middletown's positive movements, and you will see a city that's better than it was a decade ago. For those of you who have moved here, this is a wonderful city to grow up in, to learn from, and to have your family become happier. Anyway, in the meantime, the main thoroughfare, North Street, has become the center of activity that is beautiful and desirable, and there are more things that you can find on North Street. I grew up in Middletown, and it reminds me a lot of the Middletown that I had when I was a kid, walking down the street. It is a safe place. The community has not only enhanced its appeal physically, but it's enhanced its schools and the ability to enjoy things beyond the schools and your home. So we're asking everybody who can spend a few hours, 1, 2, 3 or more hours, join us at our new park. It is, what's the name of our new park?
Erie Way.
Erie Way Park. Sorry. And we will don you with a new shirt. I understand we have a new color this year. And you will have a new shirt, and you'll be given grabbers and garbage bags and things that will help you pick things up without hurting yourself. So please join us from 9 to 12 on Saturday, the 26th, and we will be very happy to have you, and I hope you enjoy the day and meet some of your neighbors again. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it?
Mr. Gomez, did you, oh, I'm sorry, I misread. We're good, that's it.
All right. Remarks to the mayor?
Good evening, and that was not a paid commercial by Sue Depew. That was unsolicited, but we thank you for your kind remarks, and Sue has been around for a while, has been a fantastic business person in our community, and she knows progress when she sees it, and she knows how to get people organized, and she certainly is doing a good job in that. We have a slide up about the, coming up on the April 26th date. But for now, we're doing the, talking about the city of Middletown Water Department is flushing water mains during the day right now, from March 31st through May 2nd. The flushing will start and has started in the second ward on the 31st of March. We'll continue through and end on May 2nd in the fourth ward, of course, weather permitting. Some night flushing may occur in certain locations, and water may be discolored due to the flushing. We've been harping on this on our social media, at our meetings. We're trying to make sure that people are aware of what's going on, because we do not want you to wash your white clothes when we're flushing because it could cause discoloration. So please check our website, sign up for the Civic Alert, and you certainly will become more aware of what's happening, not only regarding the City of Middletown water flushing, but all city issues. We're also began on April 7th, the City of Middletown collection of yard waste. And the yard waste will begin on Monday, or did begin on Monday, April 7th. Yard waste should be set out on Sunday evenings. And keep in mind, it may not and probably will not be picked up on Monday. So just leave it out. Unlike garbage, you leave it out until it is picked up. The DPW does their best to get around to all the each ward, but you need to leave it out until it does get picked up. Also, if you want to, you can bring it to the, and this is available for Middletown residents only, to the Yard Waste and Recyclable Center on Monhegan Avenue, which is open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're also going to be hosting the electronics drop-off on May 24th, on Saturday, at 76 Monhegan Avenue, which is a DPW garage. It's a limit of 5 devices per household. If you have an air conditioning unit, try to get rid of the Freon, have the Freon removed before that, because there will be a fee for the Freon. Otherwise, the items are at no charge. But keep in mind that this is Middletown residents only. We ask people not to take in their surrounding neighborhoods, our surrounding communities, electronic devices. This does cost the city to dispose of these items, and one complaint that I have received from a few people is why Memorial Day weekend, and we have to do this when the company is available to accept our goods here. So we'll do our best next year not to do it on Memorial Day weekend, but really it's based on availability of the vendor. Yesterday, we had a great announcement, along with Congressman Ryan, Senator James Skoufis, Assemblywoman Paula Kay. We were joined by representatives of the Middletown Housing Authority and the Middletown Housing Authority Board, represented by Debbie Mills and the chairperson, who was chairperson, and the executive director, Tony Keys. A lot of the aldermen were there. A lot of neighbors were there. As you can see in the picture, we did have a large group of people that were in the photo, but there was just as large of a group there that was supporting what we were proposing. And this is a great project for the city. As you know, affordable housing is probably the #1 issue in our community. And, we are talking about good cause and ways to approach good cause, but good cause is how to possibly keep housing more affordable. It's not really affordable. It deals with increases going forward. But the only way to create more affordable housing is to build inventory. And we had this opportunity with REPCO in partnership with the Middletown Housing Authority and the developer, Edgemere Development, to add 100 units to the Middletown Housing Authority inventory. This is key for our community. The city's participation will have to be in the form of a payment in lieu of taxes. The agreement will mirror what the Housing Authority pays now. As you know, there are some taxes that are paid, but it's at a much more smaller number than an average apartment house would be. So that's called the pilot. The other portion of the city participation is the donation of 1.1 acres of property that is contiguous to the Housing Authority property on Sweezy Avenue. This property was acquired by the city about 20 years ago for about $5,000, so there's no significant burden on the city, but it is a important use of the property. What better use than to include it into this project? They then will use this property for the community garden that they received a $50,000 grant from Senator Skoufis' office, and they will additional recreational possibilities on this nice piece of property. But also, they then will open up the back of the property for the construction of 50 units at Summit Field, and also an additional 50 units at David Moore Heights. This is not a direct city project. This is a Middletown Housing Authority project with city participation, and I want to make that clear because you're going to hear the next number is $50 million. So this project will be financed through the tax-exempt bonds issued by New York State, tax credit financing, similar to what we're doing with the O&W, but rather than historic tax credits, it's affordable housing or low-income housing tax credits. The New York Housing Finance Agency will be issuing low-interest loans to the developer, and that's what makes the project work. If you do the math, $50 million, 100 units, you think it's $500,000 a unit, but that's a little bit misleading because the 199 units that are existing in the Middletown Housing Authority inventory between Summitfield and David Moore Heights will all be totally renovated. And that was really exciting to the existing tenants at the facility. And so this is a total of $50 million, this project, and we look forward to moving forward with the Middletown Housing Authority. I expect that we will have a resolution in the next, probably the next month or two, or next meeting, that will be prepared and presented to you on both the payment in lieu of taxes and the transfer of the property. Mr. Massey?
Mr. Mayor, I hate to interrupt you, but I just got a text from County Legislator 154, who is putting out there that this is nothing more than a political stunt, and that it's not going to help anyone whatsoever. Could you answer that, please?
Well, it's a stupid comment.
Well, I agree.
I think you're referring to Mr. Sierra.
Mr. Sierra and
Who
Mr.
is-
154 meetings.
It's difficult to politicize meetings, but we've been working with the Housing Authority. When you insult people with that kind of comment, and he sent it directly to you?
No, it's on his page.
It's on his
evidently, and
his
someone
Facebook.
copied it.
It's unfortunate that he would make that kind of comment. These are, people like him probably made the same comment when the 199 units were constructed back in the late 50s and in the 60s.
He's claiming you just want the black and brown vote, and that's the only reason you're involved in this.
Of course. Well, I'll let Mr. Sierra answer to the people at the Middletown Housing Authority and continue with my discussion on the people that are in this photo, the congressman's office, the state senator's office, the Assemblywoman's office. More importantly than the elected officials that were there are the tenants. Sheila Dunlop, the tenants representative, the number of tenants that were there yesterday. It's an insult to General McLeod, who has been almost a 50-year member, volunteer member of the Middletown Housing Authority. Greg Cortez, I believe a 35-year volunteer member of the Middletown Housing Authority. And this is work that they have done. They have put together these projects, these proposals, and we're playing a role in this as a city. And of course, myself, I've had meetings with Debbie Mills, the chairperson of the board of directors, and I think it's insulting to not only them, but it's insulting to the people that are in this community, because we are one of the few communities that do address the needs of affordable housing. And we're not just words. We're looking at projects such as the existing Middletown Housing Authority with David Moore, Summitfield, and now this expansion. We look at Tall Oaks. We look at the old College Hill apartments. We look at the Mill project on Mill Street. All of these projects lead us to be probably the leader in affordable housing in the Hudson Valley, especially when you consider per capita. So it's not only insulting, it's stupid. And stupid can be stupid all he wants, but we're going to move ahead with this project. It's $50 million investment in people in our community. It's 100 new units. It's 199 renovated units. And I'm glad to know that that if he was successful in this race in June, does that mean he would kill this project? Because this
Evidently.
project is moving forward with or without Mr. Sierra. And, but again, they're insulting comments, and I will move on from it now.
Thank you.
So, thank you for.
Mr. President, just a couple of questions.
Sure.
With respect to that sidebar, It's ironic that as you were clarifying that it's a Middletown Housing Authority project, we're getting this comment, but I'm not sure it even is worthy of remark, but nonetheless. With respect to taxes in the pilot,
Yes.
these properties, do they pay full level taxes, or how does it work?
No, they do not pay full level. They average much less than a normal apartment development. That is the advantage, one of the advantages to a developer coming in and making this $50 million investment. So there is it's not a direct cost, but there's an indirect cost to the community, and that's why the state will issue tax-exempt bonds. That's why the city of Middletown, as a pro-housing community, which is a designation that you have to apply for, you got to prove your commitment to providing not only affordable housing, but additional housing in general. It's a cumbersome process application that was started by Governor Hochul about a year or two ago. And we did receive that designation based on our actions, based on projects that I mentioned before, like the Mill Street project.
And how long
our
ago was that,
history.
Your Honor?
This was within the last year or two of this designation. This project here will also allow us to maintain that designation, and the designation of a pro-housing community opens the door in scoring for additional state grants. So, for example, if the DRI competition, which is now, by the way, reopened to communities like Middletown that were previous winners, next year when we apply for the DRI grant, once again, the Downtown Revitalization Grant, the $10 million, I guess that wasn't real either. When we reapply for that grant, this designation of being a pro-housing community will elevate us on the scoring chart compared to other communities who are applying that don't have that designation. It's very significant. It's not just words. It's an important title to designation to have from the state of New York. And Maria Bruni's office did work on this with my office, and we did receive the designation. This will move forward, but we're not only doing it for the designation. We're doing it because the designation will help us as we move forward, but we're doing it because we care about the 199 families that are living at David Moore Heights and Summitfield, and we also care about providing some affordable housing, true affordable housing, for the 100 families that will be moving into these 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. So the opposition can cry and scream and
No, whatever.
do everything they want. It's as I said, you can't beat stupid. You can only tell people really what's going on. I'm sure the people that are involved in the project will have a response to this at some point, that it is real, it's not imaginary, it's not made up, and I think it's insulting to black and brown community to make a comment like that.
Mr. Mayor, isn't it
I had
an
another-
IDA pilot?
No, this IDAs have pilots, but they're not structured on. This is not an IDA pilot. This will be IDA may be ultimately the mechanism we use, but there's no IDA financing. This is strictly private financing, state financing, tax-exempt bonds, no city commitment, and there's no city money involved in this whatsoever, other than a benefit of being having a payment in lieu of taxes that will be a reduced amount.
Thank you.
Do you have any knowledge of the details of the pilot, or you're not privy to that?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but
Okay.
it's similar to what we have in place now. That has been the request that has been forwarded to me. I did have a brief conversation today with one of the people involved in the project and asked them to forward to us their pilot request.
I see.
But my understanding is it's going to be similar to what is in place right now. The city has voted on this several times because they are renewable after when they refinance. I think it was maybe 17 years ago or 18 years ago that they did a renovation of some of the units, so they required, maybe not everyone's familiar with it, but originally the Housing Authority was strictly a city agents, an agency of the city, where the city was responsible for all deficits in the Housing Authority. And that was going back to the way the state financed these projects back in the 50s. I think the New York City, like Mitchell-Lama housing, there were a whole bunch of different housing programs that were created back then. The one that Middletown chose to get into in the 50s had a set subsidy. I think it was like $160-something thousand a year. So the first 20 or 30 years of the housing authority, they operated in a surplus because they were getting this extra money
Right.
plus the rents, and they were operating. But then the project started to go underwater, and you saw a deterioration of the facility because they could not make the investments back in the capital investment required on the property, and they couldn't pay their bills. And the one bill that they couldn't pay was the water and sewer bill to the city of Middletown for these 200 families. So the city and the developer worked out a deal with New York State because New York State had to change this model. This model was not working with a frozen subsidy. And they allowed private investors to come in, like Edgemere, come in and purchase the properties with a commitment that they would would be remaining to be affordable housing under New York State housing guidelines. The affordable housing component had to stay in place, but New York then opened the doors for additional funding, which, as you see in this proposed project, in the Mill project, and even Southeast Towers, I wonder if that's phony too, that all these projects are done with state financing. They are not done because the developer is putting up their private money and going to charge, 30% of somebody's income. That's just not how the real world works. They're going to, as you can see with private landlords, if you're putting up your money, you're going to maximize your return. These properties are regulated by New York State. So we are not only getting the 100 additional regulated units, but we're going to renovate the 199 that are currently there. So we're excited about the project. I guess Mr. Sierra is not, but we are. And I think when you see the full picture, and I want to thank all of you who attended yesterday, that this is a hot project for the city, and I think many communities should be mirroring what we're doing here, and maybe we'll make a dent into affordable housing.
And a couple others. I just want to be clear, MHA initiated this project, or you did?
No, it's discussions, ongoing discussions. Hey, would the city support this? How do we do that? Going back many, many years, we've had some discussions on how to move ahead
Right.
on certain types of projects, and we've worked very closely with Debbie Mills, again, a volunteer on the board, who's the chairman of the board, or chairperson of the board, and other members of the board, and Tony Keys, their executive director. These are they begin as discussions. You then talk to your state representatives. You talk to your congressmen to see if there's any federal opportunities out there. You go to Washington, you go to Albany, you talk to Assemblywoman Paula Kay and say, hey, is this a doable thing? Is this a real thing? You put the packages together with all the work, or 90% of the work is done by the Housing Authority. And that's why the comment is so insulting.
Right.
It's done by them. Advice to us in the city. We do what we can. And as you say, we're playing a role that is integral to the viability of the project with the payment in lieu of taxes. If we don't approve of the payment in lieu of taxes, I doubt very much that this project will go forward.
Right.
So that's our role. Our role is not to kill it. But as for the legwork and all of the hard work, that is the Middletown Housing Authority, their executive director, their staff, RUPCO, who has a great reputation in Ulster County for doing these types of projects, Edgemere, the developer, who has done a fantastic job from what I've seen and the feedback that I'm getting from tenants at both facilities, especially tenants who have been here long-term, are saying how much better the facility is run, the improvements that are made, the maintenance that is done, the daily maintenance, the long-term maintenance. So all of these things play. Now, if they came in and said this place was not being run adequately, we would say, hey, before we would sign on to something, we would want to look at the possibility of changing the principles, because giving you money is not going to just solve the problem. So they have a good track record. I know I've walked and knocked on doors there, as you and Kate have in the past and recently, and others. And the feedback from the residents, and that's who I listen to, the residents, not Mr. Sierra. The residents is that they do a good job. And the feedback yesterday from the tenants was that we're looking forward to this. We have confidence in the Middletown Housing Authority and the job they're doing. And please, we're thankful that you're doing this. We appreciate it. And it's not only for, like, the one lady I think was probably in her mid-70s to late 70s. And she said that, I know this isn't for me. This is for other people who were like me maybe 20 years ago. They couldn't afford to stay in their community. Now I can live in my community that I grew up in and see my grandchildren and see others, my friends, without fear of being homeless. And that's what it comes down to.
So
That's simple.
So we're more collaborators than initiators of the project.
We're collaborators, we're partners on a small scale, but we are not the sponsor of the project. We have no financial stake in the project other than the payment in lieu of taxes and the donation of the property and the letters of support that will go in for the project, the pro-housing neighborhood, pro-housing designation. All of those things play a role in this project. You don't see the state give out $50 million or be part of a $50 million project without all the players being on the same page, and we're on the same page.
All right, well, I'm glad. I think the person in question will sleep better tonight, and probably a retraction is forthcoming. I had one other question.
Yes.
When they redo the units, you may not know the answer, will the people be living in them, or will they have to be relocated?
Well, what they've done in the past, they do, when they get an empty unit, they will relocate somebody in.
I see. They kind of
and
play
they
hopscotch
They
back and
move
forth.
them around.
Thank you very
They
much
do
for your
that
time.
with their staff and with their people. It's not, the burden doesn't go on to onto the tenant.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is Tuckerman Hall. This is a good one because this is one of the properties that we have taken over at the Middletown Psychiatric Center. And as you know, we took over, I think it was 13 properties. A few will be going out for requests for proposals. We're working with the BOA committee, which is the planning grant that we received from New York State for the development of the campus. There is now out, if you look on social media, you have the opportunity to comment what you would like to see, the public would like to see at the community campus. And, but it's not entirely, this is part of what we as city administration has been proposing to the Common Council. This is the largest building of those that were forwarded to the city. It's 279,000 square feet, obviously no municipal use. And we have, our zoning prohibits residential use. We've had plenty of residential inquiries for the property, as Paul and Kate surely know, and Miguel being a neighbor up there also. But the city many years ago changed the zoning to focus on arts, education, which is basically our plan, and light industrial uses that will not have a negative impact on the community. So if you recall, now that we own the building, if you recall going back maybe 15 years or so, where there was a property, I can't remember the building, but Jerry will, the one that burnt down in the middle. What was that called?
It was Pavilion 2.
Pavilion 2. And that privately owned property, owned by a shell company, not by the state of New York, owned by a company with no assets other than that building, cost the city over $1 million to tear down after it burnt down. And that's what we're trying to hope doesn't happen at these facilities. But, for example, Tuckerman, just about a week ago, had a fire inside. Started by some people camping in there. I believe it was homeless people living in although the shelter's right down the street, they decided to go into the Tuckerman building, start a fire, and to keep warm, understandable, but not inside a building such as that. Building did catch on fire. Fire department made a quick stop. But you can see the potential for real problems. So we've had great success with Fayetien College in transferring these types of buildings to them. So Tuckerman is being proposed to be transferred to them with development goals. If they don't meet the development goals, which I believe are over a period of 4 to 5 years, they would then have to pay us $150,000, $150,001. If they meet the development goals, which would mean similar to what they did at 84 Dorothea Dix, and Dorothea Dix was in better condition than Tuckerman is, they would then get the property for $1. But that would mean that they would have to put in probably upwards of $20 million into this building. It's, as I said, 279,000 square feet, has some environmental issues, has a lot of problems with the building. So this, we're restricting it to educational use and other uses related to the college. The college plan is to have 2,000 students within 5 years, and we have a pretty good track record of dealing with Fayette College, which will soon be Northern College, by the way. They are separating from the campus in Deer Park. Deer Park is going to remain focused on the fine arts. Northern College will not only have a fine arts component, but is now offering degrees in biomedical science, big data, and a whole host of other degrees. So we're projected to have 2,000 students within 5 years, so this building will be a necessity. I encourage anyone who doubts the capability of Fayette College to bring about this project to go to the campus, go to Woodman Hall, which is a 79,000 square foot building. All this was done by private with Woodman Hall. Their money, their time, they bought the building privately, and see what has been done in that building and the transformation. That campus is changing, and it's changing for the better. We will get some critics who, of course, I'm sure you might get another text, who will say we're doing it for the Old Erie restaurant because somebody up there went to the restaurant one day. But the bottom line is people see what's happening in our community. They see not only downtown, they see Dolson Avenue, they see Monhegan Avenue, they see Wickham Avenue, the sidewalks, the crosswalks. They see what's happening at the community campus. And it's imperative that we keep moving forward with these types of programs, that you are not going to get, you can get somebody to come up and build an emergency shelter. We had Volunteers of America calling us every other week for this building when we first took it over, or not first took it over, but when we first bought the other property on the campus. They wanted to do like a Camp LaGuardia style facility. That's not what we're looking for. We have a homeless shelter there. Middletown does its share in those areas. We're focusing on the education component that we've had a lot of success with, not only with SUNY Orange expansion, Toral Medical, master's degree program at Horton Hospital, the same thing. We had a plan, we stuck to our guns, we focused, and we worked with private developers in order to renovate the former Horton Hospital into what it is today, which is Toral Medical, Toral master's degree programs, PT programs, and a whole host of other things that are going on in that facility. Same thing here. Woodman Hall, at the strip along Ashland Avenue. It's all renovated buildings, private money, no city money whatsoever. This is all private money. I believe they got one grant for $1.2 million, and they've invested probably over $25 to $30 million into that campus. And you show me one other company or one other group is going to do that kind of investment and throw another $25 to $30 plus million into Tuckerman Hall. But on your screen, you see the current building, and it's uglier than it is in person, than it is in the photo. And then you look at the proposed rendering of what they're doing. And the work is top-notch. The use is something that we should all be proud of as a community. We've attended, they had a group from Taiwan last week talking about research and development facilities in association with the college. These are important things for our community, to bring this talent into the community, to bring this talent onto that campus, and to get this private investment. So it's my recommendation that we do it, that we move ahead. It has job creation, it improves the local economy, it's neighborhood revitalization. If I lived in Brewster Drive area, Pilgrims Estates, or on Monhegan Avenue, or West Main Street, I would be very excited about this project because it's bringing a lot of focus onto that campus and a lot of investment onto that campus. So I hope that you will support the project or the resolution this evening to transfer Tuckerman Hall, which then brings us to part two, the Kleiner Building, which named after Jerry's, is it just your dad or your mom and dad? After Jerry's dad. You've read about and we've been briefed on the Senator Skoufis' efforts to put $10 million into the Senate version of the budget. You know, the budget is, you get 3 budget proposals, Senate, Assembly, and Governor, and then it's negotiations. And look at the guy in the blue hat, I just noticed that. You looking up there, Jerry? I didn't put that in there, somebody else did. But this is the current state of the Kleiner building. This building is going to cost more than $10 million to renovate. It is in horrible condition. When the state left it, it was in fantastic condition. But this is the condition that it is today. We put together a verbal presentation to the senator, followed it up with some other concepts that we would like to see there. The possibility of a multicultural community center, intergenerational recreation programs between our seniors and our youth. There's a small theater there, so reactivating small local theater, along with other uses that we're still in the discussions with, and we will go to town right away on that when and if it happens. But this will be owned by the city. This will not be owned by Fétien College or any other group. This will be a city facility. The grant will be coming to the city, and then we will put together the program moving forward in conjunction with yourselves and the community. We'll do something similar to what we're doing with the BOA grant, where we'll seek community input and opportunity for the public to give their feedback. I'm sure some of the people that are commenting currently on the planning process at the online through the
Survey?
pathways, not pathways, Pattern for Progress, who is conducting the survey. It's independent from us. It's independent from the city, so it's not us trying to end up with a result. But we have a group of about 20, maybe 20 or maybe a little bit more, of volunteers from people who have a vested interest in what happens on that campus, meeting on a monthly basis, doing outreach under the direction of Pattern, and they're coordinating how this campus will look in the future and what the city should be doing. So this is not an effort by just myself, Maria, her department, or you guys. Paul is on the committee. Superintendent Amy Creedon is on the committee. Maureen Hallahan from the Orange County Partnership is on the committee. We have residents in the community that are on the committee. Tony Keys from the Housing Authority across the street is on the committee because it extends over to Monhagen on some of those properties over there. So it's exciting times for the community campus between what's happening with the BOA grant and what's happening with the Tuckerman Hall and the Kleiner Building project. So, yes, Jerry.
I just wanted to say I spoke to Alderwoman Kay about the project, and she said that she put that at the top of her wish list for the assembly budget.
The assembly, but yes.
So it is on both, but they haven't gotten to that process yet.
She has, yeah, and she has expressed her total support for the project. Both Senator Skoufis and Assemblywoman Kay will be advocating strongly for this thing to happen here. And I think part of it is the state might have a little guilt about what they did to that community campus. And if they don't, they should have some guilt. I know the governor wasn't there then and all that, but this goes back to the Pataki days of shutting the facility down. But the sin up there was not doing then what they have been doing for the past 7 or 8 years. And that's meeting with the local community about the needs and about how we can repurpose these buildings. And we would not be talking about the amount of money that we're talking about. But we're fighting for it. We've had a lot of success in the grant department. As I said, we advocate very strongly. We do a good job in the grant writing. And we do a good job in the grant receiving, too. As you can see, over the past several years, we've have received well over $70 million in grants that went to O&W, sidewalks, parking lots, facade programs, infrastructure, water tanks, water lines, sewer lines, reservoir watershed area. All those monies are heavily financed through grants. The downtown project was about 95% financed through state and federal grants. So we're excited about the opportunity to move forward with that. And my next slide will show you another yes?
Just also, too, and I may be a little confused on this, but didn't we also buy this building for like $1?
Yes, we bought all
Yeah.
all 13 buildings for $1, so if we sell one, we're even. So, now, there are some properties there that have a negative value, and that negative value is like the power plant, for example. But I can tell you what they've done in other communities. The New York State Dormitory Authority, who has actual money, has been partnering with, like in Albany, the former power plant up there in one of the facilities. They've done a great job in funneling money, grant money, which comes then back again to that whole pro-housing community designation that we have. I'm telling you, it's the right path, it's the right development, it's the right type of development, and we're the right team, myself, you guys, and the BOA committee at the Psych Center property and Pattern for Progress. We have a good team in place to make this all become a reality. Oh, did I go? Yeah, I finished with Jerry. Oh, was that Miguel giving me the cutoff? Oh, all right. O&W. Oh, Paul, go ahead.
A couple of things. With respect to the housing project, I don't want to overlook the community garden. That's also part of that project.
Yes, the community garden is an important part. That was Senator Skoufis had a grant. That did come to us. Someone asked the question before. That grant did come to us. We then reached out to the Housing Authority and said, listen, this is not our expertise. This is something that you folks are doing at David Moore Heights. Would there be any interest of you doing it at Summerfield? And they said, well, it's perfect timing because we have been talking about doing a community garden, just didn't have the financing. So now they have the financing in place, the $50,000. The city is partnering with them to do certain work, the preliminary work, the digging, even some of the operational where the water tanks need to be filled up about 3 to 4 times a year, the large water tanks that make it convenient for them to do the watering. The fire department's agreed to do that. Again, a partnership between DPW, the DPW, the fire department, Middletown Housing Authority, and Middletown Economic Development Department, because these programs come under Maria's umbrella and coordinating this. And you think it's not a lot of work sometimes, but it is a lot of work. And her and her staff deserve a lot of credit for not only working to bring them about, but also maintaining them and moving them forward. Now, the David Moore Heights project was done many, many years ago through Economic Development Office. It's more self-sustaining, but now they're asking for a little help for there too. And I think, matter of fact, I sent an email to all the principals involved today saying, here's everybody else's numbers. You people talk to each other. The city's agreed, DPW's agreed, fire department's agreed, Maria's agreed. We'll do everything we can to help you. Just tell us what needs to be done and when it needs to be done.
Well, I appreciate I was on the ground floor of those conversations. I think this is a much better fit than the other locations we looked at. 2 other things. Whitman Hall, as most of you know, I have the opportunity to be an adjunct at the college, and you have to swipe in. It's not open to the public as a building. But the college kids, we're on, my office, quote unquote, is on the 4th floor. The academy kids are on the 3rd floor. And if you walk through that, you would think you're on a SUNY campus. They've really done a beautiful job. Yeah. And lastly, with the BOA, we critiqued the survey at the last meeting. It's online. I just want to reiterate, anybody in the community is welcome to participate. The more feedback we have, the better. Thank you.
Exactly. You don't have to be tied directly into the campus
Correct.
or a neighbor. Anyone in the Middletown community, or even the greater Middletown community. We're looking for input. We're looking at what people want to see.
Thank you.
O&W update. It looks like the shoring and abatement part is done. We're near completion. A lot of the equipment's been removed. The engineers have reported to us yesterday that they will meet the state's deadline, which of April 30th, to have bid documents, and they're scheduled to be advertised by April 30th. That came from our engineers yesterday, and that was the deadline that the state was hoping that we would have. So we're hoping bids will go out on April 30th. It's a large project, as you know, so it'll probably be a 60-day bid period, but we're hoping that we'll get some good numbers on that. As always, we have a qualifier now with what's happening in Washington, D.C. About the funding, especially Head Start is our ultimate tenant. And There was some discussion about Head Start being cut significantly, but we're going to bid the project, and we're going to move ahead. We've stabilized the building, and so we're hoping for some good news moving forward. And the building, we will probably be boarding it up for safety precautions moving very soon. We're entertaining a change order now from the developer on that. Now we go to Sue Depew. And Sue has done for many, many years such a fantastic job. I mention it every time this is discussed. I need to thank her once again for her commitment to this project and the commitment to our community. April 26th is the cleanup day. It's also my grandson's 11th birthday. So, Mr. Massey, if you want to send a gift, you're certainly welcome. But we will be there helping with others in the community. A lot of people showed up. I think last year was close to 400, Kevin. A lot of them are schools, the clubs, the athletic teams. So thank you to the Middletown School District for participating. But also a lot is people just in the neighborhood and looking at their own neighborhoods, or even just picking up the equipment and going back to their own neighborhood, doing their own streets. So thank you to all who will participate. Those who have participated in the past, we deeply appreciate it. And we have a couple more new businesses that opened. This past week, we had a ribbon cutting for Estelitas, a Mexican kitchen on North Street in the Masonic Lodge building. And they're a great family. They've been in the restaurant business as employees for both husband and wife for many, many years, and decided to open their own restaurant. We were there, and they said they've been very busy, and I'm very happy for them. And then we had the Middletown Pilates Club, who has relocated from Westtown. So this group was a fantastic turnout for their event on Saturday afternoon. As you can see, our Assemblywoman was there, Maria, myself, Miguel. I woke him up. He was taking a nap and said, "Come on down, we can go." Not true. I guess it was not true.
It's true.
But we appreciate everyone attending. But this is really, I believe they said they had 230 members already. And it's, the facility is very, very nice. And Andrew and I are going to go down next week and give it a try.
Massey's 231.
31, yeah. So welcome to both. Welcome to Estelitas and the Middletown Pilates Club. And ending, happy Passover to everyone, happy Easter to those who celebrate both. And we hope the kids are off from school this week, so everyone be safe. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Great state of the city.
If Mr. Massey didn't ask so many questions, I wouldn't have been so long.
Don't mention the other names like Beetlejuice. All right, economic development.
Good evening, everyone. Can I just brag a little bit? Okay. We have a wonderful school district, Middletown School District, right? We have 3 colleges in our community: SUNY Orange, Touro University, and Northern College, Fayette College. All I gotta say is wow. And as the mayor was also speaking about the community input, I think it's important, We're having a survey for a reason up for the campus. So go on our website, take the survey. As like Dr. Johnson said, Alderman Johnson, we need to take the survey so the committee could evaluate and keep moving all the great things that are happening on that campus. Mayor, Tuckerman Hall, correct me if it's on 11 acres, correct? Yes. Yeah, so that sits on 11 acres. Also, the community garden, I think we were also kind of throwing around, besides the garden, maybe some other activities for the...
Be open for them, for other recreation, because that would be for the housing.
Correct. And that sits on 1 acre? 1.1 acre. And that's all I have. Happy Passover, a happy Easter to everybody.
Any questions for Maria? Great job, Maria.
Thank you.
Police chief.
Good evening. As we enter into the warmer months, we get the same complaints pretty much yearly. increase in traffic complaints and noise complaints. So what we're doing is for the next several weeks, we have dedicated traffic details going out on various days. Most of them are grant funded to help combat that, especially in the spring months, and then noise complaints. So as people get outside and enjoy the warmer weather, have their windows open, that is one of our bigger complaints this time of year. So I've reminded our staff to give the people the opportunity to sign complaints in those situations, and we cannot resolve that. Lastly, just want to let everyone know, if we get out before 9, our service coordinator, Stevenson, is hosting a family game night tonight at the Salvation Army. I stopped over there before I came over here. He had a nice turnout. I appreciate all the outreach he's doing and collaboration in the community. Other than that, I have nothing unless you have questions for me.
Alderman Green?
Question. Thank you, Chief. Last night we had our constituents meeting. We had some questions regarding summer programs in terms of neighborhood enforcement. Are we going to be ramping that program up more? Walking patrols, things like that, as usual, I imagine?
Yes. Traditionally, every year as the warmer weather sets in, we encourage all the officers to get out when they have the opportunity between calls. Unfortunately, our staffing is down a little bit this year with some retirements and some resignations, so we'll do the best that we can with that. The neighborhood unit will still be intact, so they'll still be able to get out and do those things as time permits, yes.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thank you, Chief. City Clerk?
Nothing this evening.
Any questions for the clerk? Alderman Green?
Yeah, I did actually have a question from a constituent about the annual yard sale. I think, did we do a resolution about that? I believe we did.
Yes.
But what the date was, that was all.
The
14th.
June 14th or June 4th? It's the first weekend
weekend
of
of
the farmer's market, Maria. June 7th.
7th, all right, thank you, that was all.
We'd get there eventually.
All right, anyone else? All right, public hearings and grievances.
We have 2 public hearings this evening. The first one, notice is hereby given that the city of Middletown will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, on or as near 7:30 PM as possible, 16 James Street, to hear any and all persons wishing to be heard in the proposed 2-lot subdivision resulting in a lot line change at 15 Mercer and 16 Warren Street. Any and all persons wanting to be heard will be given the opportunity to speak either for or against the proposed 2-lot subdivision. The complete application is available in the city clerk's office and on our city website.
Okay, at this time, the public hearing is now open.
We have Tyrone with us this evening, who is the applicant.
Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz.
Back from youth football.
What was that?
Remember you from youth football?
Yeah, you remember me? Oh, okay. Okay, that was a while ago.
So just explain to us what you plan on doing.
I'm sorry. So there was a lot line discrepancy when my new neighbor did a survey, and I'm actually on his property, but he built the fence that way. So to make things official, I don't know if he's saying gifting me the property, but he's saying, you know what, just leave it alone, go to the city, get all the plans set, straight up here. This way, if either one of us have to sell our property, we don't have to go through this again, right? So it works out for both of us. Make sense?
All right, anyone else have any questions? Anyone from the public have any questions? You're good.
Is the public back there?
It could be anybody.
They're coming in now.
There's a line to see you. All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing? Alderman Ray, seconded by Alderman Johnson. All in favor? Aye. Good.
Thank you, sir.
All right. 8.2.
Our second public hearing this evening, notice is hereby given that the city of Middletown will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, on or as near 7:30 PM as possible in the Common Council Chambers, 16 James Street, to hear any and all persons wishing to be heard on a proposed 2-lot subdivision resulting in a lot line change at 20.5 to 30 Lau Avenue rear and 20.5 to -30 Lau Avenue front. Complete application is on file in the city clerk's office and on the city website.
At this time, the public hearing is now open.
This is part of the O&W project. In order to develop the O&W, especially with the Head Start program, there was a requirement for off-street parking. And this is the property directly behind Mountain View Restaurant. It's actually already subdivided. It's 2 separate lots. It's a vacant lot that goes behind Mountain View. but we're also doing a little bit of the side so we have better access. So this will be parking for the O&W development. The development, the acquisition cost, I believe, is city funds of $180,000. I'm not exactly sure, but it's around there. But the development of the parcel will be grant funds obtained through either Assemblywoman Gunther at the time or Senator Skoufis. So it's probably about a $600,000 to $700,000 project, majority of it funded by grant. Makes the O&W viable for development.
All right. Anyone from the public? Any councilmen have any issues? Motion to close? Alderman Massey, second by Alderman Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Remarks of Alderman. Alderman Tobin.
Sure. So I'm off this week on spring break, which is good, but I also have more time to watch the news, which is frustrating in the current climate. We keep witnessing America getting greater and greater every day.
Sit here.
The hands-off rally in Middletown went well, as well attended and cathartic, I think, for all of us. There's a ton of topics that I could talk about, but I'll just focus on one, and that's just to remind everybody, the Fifth Amendment clearly states, no person shall be deprived of due process. It doesn't say citizen, it's due process. And the Founding Fathers, the first two amendments are important in the Bill of Rights, but the Founding Fathers made amendments 4 through 8 for people accused of crimes, because they knew a tyrant would accuse people of crimes and lock them up and throw them away, and that's why they're so specific about what rights people have, and due process is one of them. Thank you.
Good job. Alderman John Francois.
Yes, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Easter and a happy Passover. That's all I have. Thank you.
Alderman Johnson.
Thank you. I'll concur with Mr. Tobin. The current theory that's been the last few weeks is that the current administration just wants to saturate our frustration so that we can't really concentrate on anything in particular. They seem to be doing a good job. Good cause. I just want to give everybody an update. I've been in communication with Bravin, and we've set up a potential date on May 8th for the mayor, myself, Bravin, and a legal representative from the Mid-Hudson Tenants Group, and our attorney for CDA, name escapes me. Gene Grillo. So Robin wanted to know if he could bring a lawyer. I said, well, the more the merrier. We'll have somebody representing tenants, somebody representing landlords. There's still a lot of gray that needs to be clarified. And I've tried to reiterate to Robin that we are proceeding with what we deem to be appropriate caution. Thank you.
Alderman Ray.
Good evening. To take your tail feathers on that one, we've been talking about this for a while, but really when we talk about what makes it possible for people to find housing they can afford to live in, this project up at Summit and David Moore Heights, that's what's going to get this done. This is an important cause. I think it's an important project. I actually know personally a couple of people who are in a situation where they've reached out to the Housing Authority and there's a waiting list. There's nothing available. And this is life-changing for people to be able to get into these units because the rentals that are out in the private market are just out of price range for a lot of people who live and work here and raise their kids here. So I think this is important. I think it's excellent. And for 100 families, it's going to be a miracle. Maria, I love when you brag because you're 100% right. This is the absolute best school district around. I actually ended up speaking to someone at my car dealership getting service the other day, and I explained, hey, my daughter graduated with 80 Syracuse college credits, and she was nearly done when she went to school. And she's like, that's what? And I'm like, yeah, that's what we do here. It's amazing. And on top of that, our colleges, we just found Mia's white coat from Toro, and it was supposed to be her backup plan, but now we need a law school, she said. So it's time. But really, that's all I have. I mean, all these amazing things we have going on here, onward and upward, Middletown.
Alderman Kleiner.
Thank you. I want to thank the late Ellie Mamelock, who was very much involved in starting the Middletown Housing Authority. And she and Dr. Mamelock would let people stay in their house when they had no place else to go. So they were great friends, great neighbors, and a great part of Middletown. I want to thank all the people who showed up on April 5th to protest what's going on in Washington. And we used to be the leaders of the free world. That was long ago. On Thursday, April 8th, I also want to thank, had a dedication for Fireman Joe, named after Joe Wheeler, who was Common Council President back in 1907, and raised the money for Fireman Joe to recognize and he was also a fireman, so it's a salute to our fire department, our volunteers, and our paid professionals, and I thank Randy McLean and Nikki Barber, who worked very hard for that and kept at it. And also want to thank Steve Cohen, who is Marvin Cohen's son. Steve lives down in Delaware, but he offered to pay all the money to get Fireman Joe back. The mayor wisely decided to let it go through the court process, but I thank Steve for that very generous offer. I don't know if people know that 2 banks are moving. The Orange County Trust Company, which is now the Orange Bank and Trust, which has been in that building since 1892. But at the end of this month, they are closing that building. So they will be available on Dulcin Avenue and in Chester and other places they are. But they were one of Middletown's oldest businesses in that building. So hopefully, I know Maria's already looking at keeping the facade and keeping that building looking the same, whoever ends up buying it or being a tenant. Also, TD Bank on Dulcin Avenue is closing. So that'll be on June 5th, and that leaves the TD Bank in Orange Plaza. So the other side of town, really out of town of Walk Hill, but they still be a presence here. I want to thank everyone who came to our constituents meeting yesterday. Bulk pickup continues, as the mayor mentioned. The second ward is the last ward, and that's they're in the process of picking that up now. We have a resolution to waive the fees for Cinco de Mayo for sidewalk sales and et cetera. And I hope everyone supports that, and I wish people who celebrate a happy Cinco de Mayo. We should be downtown celebrating. I got an email today. Before that, I'm sorry about the Little League parade being canceled, but it was a wise decision because it was snowing pretty hard when the Little League parade would have gone on. So I hope they reschedule it, but they'll see what they're able to do. I got an email from the Middletown and Town of Walk Hill Veterans Council today that they will be having their Memorial Day celebration this year at the Elks Club on Memorial Day at 11 p.m. So we do hope that's
11 a.m.
Hope that's well attended. It's other than, well, I want to mention my peace plan. I've had a peace plan for Ukraine, and I think it's pretty simple because it seems to be a sticking point. Ukraine withdraw all its troops from Russia. Russia withdraw all its troops from Ukraine, and neither side fire missiles at the other side. Done. That's it. I'm sure most everyone would agree to that. The full faith and credit, thank you, Sparrow, for mentioning that. We have a bunch of Republican cowards in Congress right now, and they're what is making everything possible. They're what's making us the laughing stock of the world, and I hope some of them grow a spine. I've never seen so many spineless people in my life. I wish everyone happy holidays, and that's it. Thank you.
Alderman Green.
Thank you very much for everyone celebrating currently. Happy Passover and happy Easter to everyone coming up. hopefully we have some nice weather, looks like on tap for a week, and hopefully coming, for the future, no surprise winter coming up again. Fireman Joe was a great dedication. It's a beautiful, beautiful statue. It's back there. Just all the work done by all parties involved was it's nice to see it back there. And if you can drive by at night and see it all lit up, it's really beautiful. And I'm just thankful he's back here in the city. Certainly cleanup's going, Second Ward, some streets had a little, some little streets had a lot. So certainly, I know Jacob is not with us tonight, but thank you to the DPW for doing all their job there, keeping everything nice and clean and picking up the little bit of a lot. Chief, it's nice to hear that there's going to be extra in terms of parking and traffic patrols. I was going to bring up about parking. I've just noticed lately with a lot of food delivery services and things that come out, a lot of double parking in places, and a lot of people parking right up to the curb or corner when you're trying to make turns. Makes it a little difficult for small cars and emergency vehicles especially to get by should they need to. And last but not least, in terms of the community campus, I know many of us were able to attend an open house up at Northern Faytian, up on that campus. And thankfully, I was able to bring along my wife with me, and we were all talking, and we were talking with some of the people who are up there in management roles and director roles. And really the whole term community is something that they really want to lean heavily into. They talked about certain summer programs they have and that, and my wife said, I think our son would love that. Do you have to be a student up here? And they said, no, that's something we're trying to get out, is that this is for the community. So the term community campus really means community. This is a part of Middletown. I'm certainly proud of it. I know that I can probably speak for everyone on this council that saying that we're proud of all the work that's being done up there. I am so hopeful for that Tuckerman Hall to look even half as nice as that picture. We won't go deep into that, but that place really is going to be just a shining star on that beautiful piece of property that we have. And I look forward to hopefully the Kleiner Building coming up and being a great community center on the community campus after we get all this community input and for this wonderful community that is Middletown. Thank you.
Alderman Witt.
Thank you very much. First of all, Susan, thank you so much for just a great way to start the meeting. Very positive. This is a very informative meeting, and the cleanup day that you inspired continues to get bigger and bigger every year. And to sort of add on to that, and with what the mayor said, yes, you can come down and we'll get you a place to go, but you can go and pick up everything and then go back to your own neighborhood. Even if you don't go and you just clean up the front of your property and on both sides, that makes a difference. Every little bit counts. So thank you for starting things off great. On the community campus stuff, the survey that Maria suggested, I do hope people take it because we do take feedback here. And this is a great opportunity, sort of a blank canvas. And if we may recall, somebody just came up to the microphone one day and said it might be nice to have an ice rink here. And now we do. So, it does happen. And just on the housing authority thing, I think that's just a great project, Mayor. And the way you explain that, and with Alderman Johnson's questions, I hope we can even sometime do it again when it's finalized and have some sort of a presentation that just captured how you explained it and how many people were involved in making that happen. Because Summit Field and David Moore Heights are such a big part of what this city is. And I know people who I know grew up with, who lived in both places and look back on that fondly. And now you have a whole nother generation. Not only you have the current generation of having renovated apartments, but new people in nice housing, nice affordable housing, like Kate mentioned, is so vital. And I just, commend everybody for their work and thank the senator, congressman, and assemblywoman for all their help, and mayor for your work with that as well. So thank you very much.
Alderman Massey.
Mr. Mayor, I think I interrupted you, and I know that you forgot to mention that the march, the National Protest Day on April 5th, and I know, and I thank you for marching along with them. I just want to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah and a happy and safe Easter, and enjoy your vacations.
Maria, can you come up and talk about the Cinco de Mayo?
Yes, Cinco de Mayo celebration. The Business Improvement District, along with many merchants, started organizing this about 3 years ago. We have a committee, Jose from Alondra's, Naomi from Naomi's Beauty on North Street, Alvaro from Garcia's Market, and Juan from Taco Factory, and then some of the staff of the bid and other board members. But this celebration this year is going to begin March 2nd to Friday, May 2nd, to Friday to May 5th. We're going to have the sidewalk sales. All the restaurants and businesses are going to have specials and so forth. But on the 3rd, the Saturday, there's going to be entertainment downtown at Run for Downtown Park and North Street Park across from Garcia's Market. And on Sunday is the main event on May 4th, which is going to begin with a celebration march. And we are going to start at Thrall Park, march up North Street to Degnan Square, where the main festivities are going to take place with traditional Mexican dancing, music, celebration, and it's just going to be a great day. The community is really coming together. The businesses downtown are really supporting this and looking forward to this, and I'm proud to be a part of it. We're all proud to be a part of it, and we're looking forward, and they're so happy that this celebration march is going to take place on May 4th. I thank the chief who's going to be assisting and coordinating the march. And also speaking of school district, the MIDI Mariachi Band is going to be performing on that Sunday. So there's a lot going to happen that weekend. Come check it out. It's going to be fun. And Degnan's going to provide good weather that weekend because last year it did rain, but they're all counting on him for a beautiful weekend. That's all.
All right. New business.
Good evening. We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Massey authorizing an agreement with Ackley and Hubble Appraisal Corporation.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Massey, seconded by Alderman Ray. Any discussion? Vote.
Tobin. John Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Massey authorizing an agreement with Capital Market Advisors for financial advisory services through December of 2026.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Massey, seconded by Alderman Green. Any discussion? Vote.
Tobin.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson authorizing the contract of sale for the purchase and development of 122 Dorothea Dix Drive, including development goals and targets.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, seconded by Alderman Ray. Any discussion? Vote.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Jean Francois authorizing a renewal agreement with Auctions International.
Resolution by Alderman John Francois, seconded by Alderman Tobin. Any discussion? Vote.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Witt authorizing to surplus vehicles.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Witt, seconded by Alderman Green. Any discussion? Vote.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green authorizing the acceptance of a donation from the Middletown Lions Club.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman Tobin. Any discussion? Vote.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner authorizing the waiving of sidewalk sale fees for the Cinco de Mayo celebration.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner, second by Alderman Green. Any discussion? Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution is sponsored by Alderwoman Ray authorizing an agreement with Pets Alive for stray dogs and cat rescue.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Ray, seconded by Alderman Johnson. Any discussion? Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. A resolution is sponsored by Alderman Tobin authorizing an agreement with Dump Stray Animal Rescue.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Tobin, seconded by Alderman John Francois. Any discussion? Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez. Carries. Resolution is sponsored by Alderman Witt authorizing to provide end-of-season bonuses for lifeguards.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Witt, seconded by Alderman Massey. Any discussion? Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution is sponsored by Alderman Jean Francois awarding the street materials and asphalt materials bids.
A resolution sponsored by Alderman John Francois, seconded by Alderman Tobin. Any discussion? Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderwoman Ray designating the month of May 2025 as Frontline Worker Appreciation Month in the city of Middletown.
Said Alderman Ray.
Yep.
Alderman Ray, second. Do I have a second? Alderman Johnson. Any discussion? Are everybody's in there? DPW? All the employees? All right. Just want to make sure.
All frontline
All
workers.
frontline. All right. Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderwoman Ray. It's a notice of determination of non-significance pursuant to 6 NYCRR for a two-lot subdivision at 15 Mercer Street and 16 Warren Street.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Ray, seconded by Alderman Johnson. Any discussion? Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson approving a two-lot subdivision, a lot line change at 15 Mercer Street and 16 Warren Street.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, seconded by Alderman Ray. Any discussion? Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Massey. It's a resolution of notice of determination of non-significance pursuant to 6 NYCRR for a two-lot subdivision at 20.5-30 Lau Avenue front and rear.
A resolution sponsored by Alderman Massey, seconded by Alderman Witt. Any discussion? Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Witt approving a two-lot subdivision, lot line change at 20.5-30 Lau Avenue front and rear.
Resolution sponsored by Witt, seconded by Alderman Massey. Any discussion? Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
Jean Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green authorizing the amendment of city code to remove a 24-minute parking sign from Lake Avenue.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman Kleiner. Any discussion? Alderman Kleiner.
I just want to explain that we had a call from resident right on Lake Avenue, and this is almost at the corner with Wickham. And the resolution, the 24-minute parking was established back in 1982. There's no parking on the other side of the street, so when that was Blanchard's store or whatever store followed Blanchard's store, there was a need for short-term parking there. Now, that's been vacant long since, and now it's a residence, so there's absolutely, we weren't even aware that the signs were there, but now we are, and so we just want them removed because there's no need for 24-minute parking. Thank you.
The signs are in the second ward or third ward size?
They're in this, they're on the second ward
So
side.
across the street from Blanchard's, right? All right. Anyone else?
Third ward.
The store is on the third ward side.
That's what really matters.
Former store.
Roll.
Tobin. John Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Audit.
Mr. President, I move the accounts be audited, claims be adjusted, and the city treasurer be authorized to issue warrants for their payment.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Massey, seconded by Alderman Johnson. Roll.
Tobin.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ray.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Witt.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Carries.
Move for adjournment.
So moved.